Hello, my name is Aleesha Roedel. I'm from the Eastern Washington PTAC office, or better known as a Government Contracting Assistance Specialist. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and I'll be happy to answer them at the end. I didn't ask, Melinda, did you prefer to hold questions to the end, or is it okay to interrupt you?
I think it's just fine to interrupt me, and that way, we can really address the issue, whatever it is, as it comes up.
Okay, fantastic. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So we are going to go through Introduction to the U.S. Department of Agriculture with our guest speaker, Melinda Coffman.
Hi, thank you very much for having me here. I'm Melinda Coffman. I'm the SBIR program coordinator for the USDA, and I'm just really happy to be able to tell you a little bit about a program today.
Before we dive 100% into Intro to the USDA, I'm going to give you a brief overview of PTAC. So we were established in 1985 through a cooperative agreement with the Department of Defense and the Defense Logistics Agency. I'm funded partially through the Defense Logistics Agency, which will soon be the Department of Defense. We're switching houses. And then I'm housed partially, and the other part of my funding is from GSI, or Greater Spokane Incorporated. If you're not in Washington State, there's over 90 PTACs, and we have over 400 counselors nationwide. So we can touch base and we can find your PTAC counselor if you're not in my region. In Washington, there's 8 regions, and I cover Region 7. So Washington's PTAC's mission is to increase the number of government contracts awarded to Washington firms, and we do that in a bunch of different ways. So one-on-one technical assistance, inviting you to networking events such as this, conducting training events where you can learn more, which I guess this would be a little bit of both for you today. Registrations and certifications, so that's understanding where you need to be registered and if and when it's a good time to qualify or to apply for certifications if you qualify. We help you locate, read, and interpret solicitations, and then we help you ensure compliance after you win your award. I have a couple of events coming up. I'm sure this will change and there's going to be many, many more. But 2 of them that just helps you get started is Government Contracting 101. I have one in September and one in October. Washington PTAC also has a very, very full events calendar. So if you would like to jump on and take advantage of any other events, I would love to see you guys attend. So today, once again, our speaker is Melinda Coffman. She's a program coordinator with the Small Business Innovation and Research Center for the Department of Agriculture and the National Institute for Food and Agriculture. She's quickly approaching her 1-year anniversary with the program. So I'm so happy to have you here today, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to be here at Greater Spokane, Inc. And again, I'm Melinda Coffman. I'm the USDA SBIR program coordinator. And I'm going to start out today just giving you a brief overview of what the program is about. The goals of the program are, to meet the R&D needs of the federal government by stimulating technological innovation, to increase private sector commercialization by innovation derived from federal research and development funding, and importantly, to foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And then some of the features of the USDA SBIR program are that the ideas need to be initiated by the investigator. The awards are based on the scientific and technical merit, also the commercial potential of the innovation, and the principal investigator and the company qualifications. We encourage subcontracting to universities and USDA labs, so that's perfectly allowable, and it's actually a pretty good thing to do. Success metrics from receiving SBIR grants include an increase in the number of new jobs created throughout the United States, increase in technology sales or services, and sale to other businesses of licenses to the technology that has been developed under SBIR. Our annual budget is around 29 million, and we have this is an example of our funding from last year. We're still waiting on the RFA to be published for this year, but so as an example, for last year in FY21, our phase one is it's always for 8 months, and it's $100,000. For phase two, it's a 2-year grant, and it's for $600,000. And so here's some idea. This gives you some idea of the success rate with phase one and phase two. Phase one, FY19, we had a 14.8% success rate, and in FY20, we had a 16.1% success rate. So, average in the 15% success rate for phase one. But once you receive a phase one, then a phase two has a higher success rate. So in FY19, we had a 40.6% success rate, and in FY20, we had a 42.6% success rate. And then we also offer technical and business assistance, or TABA. And that was introduced as part of the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. And it can include things like marketing, market research, a financial review, IP, legal costs, and consults on funding strategy or activities related to manufacturing. And that's just a sampling of what TABA can help you with, really anything around commercialization. So in phase one, it's $6,500 that the USDA pays. It doesn't come out of your budget. It's to support the commercialization. So you can focus on the science more. And you'll just have somebody to provide guidance around commercialization. And it helps you to prepare your commercialization plan for phase two. In phase two, it's $50,000. Again, that is on top of your $600,000 budget for phase two. So it doesn't come out of your budget. It's the $50,000 is provided by the USDA. And that's to move forward again into commercialization. Now I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about our topic areas to give you some idea of what our topic areas are. We have forest and related resources. We have 2 plant production and protection topic areas. One is 8.2, which focuses on the biology wing of that, and the other is 8.13, which focuses on the engineering wing of that. 8.3 is animal production and protection. Then we have conservation of natural resources, food science and nutrition. 8.6 is rural and community development. We also have aquaculture, biofuels and bio-based products, and 8.12 is small and mid-sized farms. Now, you might notice that 8.6 and 8.12, rural community development and small and mid-sized farms, are in red font. And that's because they're just a little bit different than the other topic areas in that you don't have to have a completely new innovation for those. You can take an off-the-shelf technology and you can apply it in a new, novel way. And then for those 2 topic areas, 8.6 and 8.12. And then this is just a reminder, we are the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but there's a lot of, we incorporate all types of science into our SBIR, into the work, all the work we do, but also into SBIR. So we do everything from robotics to nanotechnology, to acoustics, to remote sensing, genetic engineering, precision agriculture, all of these things and more. So this is, again, just a sampling. So anything around technology and science, if it can be applied to agriculture, and it's a new innovation or a new use of a existing innovation, then maybe take a look at us. And then here's the timeline. We are hoping that our RFA for phase 1 will be released in this month. It was originally supposed to be released in July, and now we're waiting for it to be released in August. So my best guess, clearly I don't have control over this, so my best guess is that it'll be late August, maybe early September. And then the proposal deadline is usually October. And what I'll say is that there has to be 60 days between the publication of the RFA when it's made public and the close. So there'll be 60 days from that time. And then the panels the reviews are held in January, and the awards come out in June through August of 2022. And then for phase 2, which is only open to phase 1 awardees, we don't have an option to go straight to phase 2. So for phase 2, the RFA is usually released in December, and then the proposal deadline is late February or early to mid-March. The panels are in July, held in July, and the notifications are sent out in August. Then awards are made in September. And then a little bit about how those proposals are reviewed. So they're evaluated by a confidential peer review panel that's made out of experts from outside of the USDA for the most part. We do have some experts sometimes that come from federal labs, but mainly it's from industry, academia, and nonprofits. And for both phase 1 and phase 2, we have panels plus ad hoc reviewers. All of our applicants receive verbatim copies of the reviews. And phase 1 applicants that were not selected for funding are able to reapply during the next cycle. So if you'll recall, it is about a 15% award success rate. So if you are not selected the first time around, you can apply again the next year. Phase 2 is different. You're only able to apply for phase 2 one time, so you really want to make sure you give it your best shot in phase 2. And then I'm going to talk just a little bit about university and government scientist involvement in the USDA SBIR program. We strongly encourage this. They can serve as consultants or receive a subcontract and continue to work full-time at their home institution. So they're limited to no more than 1/3 of their phase 1 award, or 1/2 of a phase 2 award. Scientists may serve as a principal investigator on an SBIR grant. This is another option for them. Rather than consulting or subcontracting, they can serve as the principal investigator by reducing employment at their home institution to 49% or less, just for the duration of the grant. And the SBIR research must be performed someplace other than their research lab. So it's kind of important, and it's not acceptable for a university or government scientist to serve as consultants and have all the research done in their labs. And then development of a cooperative research and development agreement with a USD lab or licensed USD innovation. So we'll talk a little bit more about CRADAs. It's an additional factor that'll be considered in the review process. Include whether a phase 1 or phase 2 application involves a CRADA with a USD laboratory or a license to USD technology. So if there's kind of a split about 2 applications, 2 proposals that are pretty much of equal merit, If you have a CRADA with the USD lab or a license to a USD technology, that will really weigh heavier in favor of your proposal. And the contact for a CRADA is Kathleen Kahn at Agricultural Research Service, and I have her address here. And I believe you'll be getting copies of these slides, so you'll have that. And then factors that improve some of the chances of award success include having high commercial potential as well as scientific and technical merit. So those things are, weighed pretty much, equally or close to equal. And so paying attention to both those things. And again, with the commercial potential, that's why we offer the technical and business assistance, because a lot of the PIs that are applying for these grants are mainly scientists, and so they might need a little help from the business side. So that's why we offer TABA. Having good consultants is a plus, as having a CRADA agreement, which we just talked about. Showing that you have some kind of business expertise in your company is always a plus. And then strong letters of support from end users, phase 3 partners, consumers, and investors. Those are pretty important. So having those letters of support, and those should be addressed to you and just used as part of your application process. And then conveying in your proposal a strong understanding of the entry and sustainability into the market is also an important thing to include. More advice for phase 1, provide a vision of where you want to be at the end of phase 2. So even though you're applying for phase 1, it's good if you can take a step back and show in your proposal where you see this coming to fruition. If you can create that vision for the reviewers, I think that is a good benefit. And then focus the phase 1 research on the critical enabling factors and sell the importance of your project and the alignment with USDA priorities. Provide a detailed experimental plan and include proprietary information, which will be held confidentially, whether you receive a grant or not. And then provide some insight into the commercial potential of your project, as we've been talking about, and then show connectivity to the communities you're intending to serve by, including those letters of support. And those, again, are from, consumers, end users, investors, those types of things. Continued advice for phase 1, complete the following required registration in order to submit your application. So if you have not already done this and you think you might apply this year, I highly suggest you go ahead with this. So register your company with SBIR.gov, and then complete the required steps necessary to register on grants.gov, which includes getting a DUNS number and then registering with SAM.gov. Or if you're already registered, you do have to do an annual update. So just check on that and make sure. It can take this SAM.gov can take up to 2 weeks to get through the process, and it can even stretch into 5 weeks. So that's really important, because with us expecting to have the RFA published very soon, it's critical that you go ahead and do this if you haven't done it. And if you have done it, please check and make sure it's still up to date. And then lastly, creating a grants.gov username and account. I think we have 4 slides on advice. So contact the national program leader for a consult. So when you look at those topic areas in the RFA, look at the topic. The national program leader will be listed in the topic area that you think is the best fit. And so the best way to contact the national program leader is to write a really informal, very, very brief one, no more than 2 paragraph email summary of your project and send it to the national program leader, again, listed in the RFA, and ask for a consult. And then hopefully you'll set up a 15 or 20-minute phone consult with them. And then also make sure you follow all the application guidelines for format, page limits, required docs. Every year we have our proposals submitted that go over the page limits, and we just are not allowed to include them. So please follow all of those guidelines and make sure you read the RFA. Almost all the questions you have are answered in the RFA. Ensure that the application responds to all the review criteria listed in the RFA and apply early. Okay, application assistance resources. So there are small business development centers. You're already with a PTAC, but there are also small business development centers, and there's at least one in every state, and there's 62 in total. And these are a couple of websites where you can find assistance with your application. And then there's also FAST programs, federal and state. They increase the number. These are geared towards looking for women and socially economically disadvantaged individuals in small businesses in underrepresented areas. So you can use this link to look those up if you fit into that category or your business does. And then there are also SBA Growth Accelerators. And they can help with the application process. And then you can use this website, find local assistance for SBIR proposals. You can use that website to find local assistance. Lastly, I'm just going to go over a few USDA SBIR success stories, just to give you an idea. And one thing I want to say about the success stories is that it does take a while to bring a new product completely to market. So, for instance, in this one that we're going to look at, where you'll notice 2014, it might sound like it was a while back, but it just takes time to fully, develop and commercialize a product. So this is Alteros Buoyant Airborne Turbine, or BAT, and it takes the actual turbine and lifts it into the air up into the strong consistent winds at a higher altitude, and then most turbines, traditional turbines. So it really is an excellent source for rural communities and remote locations to generate power. And it was featured in CNN's 2014 edition of the CNN 10 Inventions, and also in the New York Times. And then telecoms group SoftBank has invested $7 million in Alteros Energies for future deployment of the BAT technology in Japan. Then we have Prairie Aquatech. It's a natural process to convert soybean meal into fish feed using microbial enhancement. It's called MePro, and it has had commercialization success. It's a recipient of the 2019 Aquafeed Innovation Award in Cologne, Germany, and they commissioned a 30,000 square foot facility in the summer of 2019 to scale up production, and they've sold samples or sent to manufacturers in 12 countries, and they should have new products coming to market this year. Embrix developed a higher throughput and superior technology for ovo vaccination technology provided benefits to enhance efficiency and bird performance. The commercialization success, they've had in 2001, they had $44 million in revenues, and they increased employees from less than 10 to over 200, and they were purchased by Pfizer. And lastly, this is a more recent success story, Sunsite Wind Inc. in Lawrenceville, Georgia. The founder was Dr. Devin McIntosh, and they manufacture advanced small wind turbines that successfully compete with rooftop solar, even with moderate wind areas. So they can, my understanding of this is they can be used in urban areas. So they're little wind turbines that can be used in all types of applications. And this is showing that they had several SBIR grants throughout, going back to 2002 through 2014. So these are the awards from those times. Again, I'm Melinda Coffman. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen and to be here. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. If you think of one later, this is our website over here. So you can go to our website and look, and there's lots of information in there that you can find. And then you can also email me at the address here, or we have a general mailbox, SBIR@USDA.gov. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time you took to listen.
Thank you so much, Melinda, for joining us today. I haven't seen any questions come through the chat box. So just as a reminder, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. Like Melinda said, if you guys have any questions, there's the the SBIR email address, and you can also feel free to email me as well, and then we will go from there. I did have one question as we were going through the slide deck. So the phase 1 awards is approximately 15%. Do you know what the percent is for the phase 2 awards after that?
Yeah, it's about, I would say 45%. The examples we have in there, which are the most recent ones, we'll be updating it soon, but the most recent ones, they were both a little low those years, but you know, part of that I think was the pandemic, and sometimes, you know, they just change sometimes, but I think it's around 45.
Okay. We did have a question come through the Q&A. Are there standardized deliverables for phase 1 or phase 2?
They're standardized those deliverables really depend on your proposal. So you kind of choose. The phase 1 is proof of concept. So you're just creating your proof of concept research project, and through that you create the deliverables. So you'll be judged on what you have proposed. Is that helpful?
Another question came through. It says, in rural communities, can you give us an idea of the demographics? Anything in Eastern Washington?
And I guess that means, Leslie, any proposals that we've sponsored in, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You know, I would have to go into our system and look. I mean, SBIR has been around for quite some time. I would be really surprised if there were not. Now, whether there are any recent ones or not, I'm not sure, but you know, your location doesn't really make a difference.
Okay, so is there anything going on with Washington State University or Central Washington State in support of this project?
You know, there may be some, like Washington State or Central Washington State may have like a, you know, be associated with a FAST program, or or an SBIR accelerator or incubator. I'm not sure right off the top of my head if they are, but that's a possibility.
Okay.
And those resources, Leslie, that I put at the end of my slides, where you can, look up assistance, various types of assistance, I would go to that and look and see if anything is associated with any of those universities.
So I have one more question.
Sure.
So, looking at energy and, production type things, what about veterinary side of things in regards to animal husbandry or any unique things going on with that?
Well, we certainly have a topic area around animal production and protection. And actually, one of the national program leaders for that is a veterinarian. So, and he's very experienced with SBIR and, with that topic area, of course. And so I guess my answer to you is yes, that there's plenty of room around animal husbandry for new innovations.
Thank you.
Of course.
So on your resource links, can you tell me if there is a link that we can filter down and find the recipients, based on a geographic area, be it Eastern Washington or the Olympic Peninsula or, North Idaho, so that, we can kind of see who's been in the program, and those who are progressing through?
That's a really good question. If you can look by actual region. I'm trying to look it up right now. Have you been to the SBIR.gov site?
Not recently, but yeah, I have been there.
Okay. That is where I would start to look and see if you can filter through. I think you probably can do it by agency.
I can share.
Go ahead.
Real quick. On the SBIR website, there is a section where we can look up award data. So if you guys are curious about the different award data for people who have won awards, you would go to SBIR.gov. Under reports, you can look up award data. So on the left-hand side, there's ways you can filter it by agency. You can search by keywords. If you know a company specifically that you want to look up, you can look it up through there. So we could look up Department of Agriculture, for example. Phase 1, Leslie?
Yes.
So we could look up phase 1.
Excellent.
And we can dial it down by state.
Oh, good. Okay.
Where is it at? Right here. And then, so it's automatically updating it as I'm clicking the filters on the left-hand side. And then you can download these, and then we could probably filter them out further. So we can look at Eastern Washington specifically, or whichever region. And then I'm not sure about the demographics piece, if it lists like what their socioeconomic categories are, but we could always take the list, dive deeper, and then continue from there.
So, Aleesha, I know that years ago that we had a PTAC client who, a couple of young guys that were working on permeable pavers, outdoor pavers, and that has huge impact on the commercial construction side of things. But I wonder, if this would also be something that would be utilized within the USDA, the farming communities, floodplains, et cetera, et cetera. Would somebody like that, also be eligible, to apply, if it, comes from a different industry, but has usability within USDA?
Yes, Leslie, that absolutely. In fact, there are SBIR programs throughout the federal government. So, there are times when something fits into it, it isn't just purely an agricultural application. And like one thing an example that comes to mind is we had a scientist that developed a non-toxic insecticide for, I believe he started with cattle, but then he went on to other livestock and then made one for people. And that that went over to, I think, the National Science Foundation. And so those can be, if you have something that say that those pavers you got an SBIR grant from Department of Energy, perhaps. You can also look at I think there'd probably be tons of applications in agriculture. So you can also apply for an SBIR grant, with a specific proposal for how to use it in agriculture.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's this has been a really great session. And Aleesha, we'll go offline, and I'll send you the information on that PTAC client.
Okay. Yeah, I'm absolutely happy to help and do a little bit of deeper diving into that. I know that the SBIR website can be a little bit intimidating if you're not super familiar with it. So for the other attendees on the line, if you guys ever want a crash course on the SBIR website, whether that's to look for opportunities or search for award data, something similar like I had just done, or look deeper into topic areas, I am more than happy to do that. Or if you're a PTAC counselor in your area, if you're out of my area, I'm sure they'll be happy to help as well, but we all work together. So if it's something outside of someone's skill set, we'll work together to get you the answers you need.
And thank you, Aleesha, for pulling that up so quickly and going through. That was really helpful to look at that SBIR website and kind of get a feel for what all you can see.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things on there as well that
yes,
we're happy to go through with anybody if needed. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one other thing on the SBIR website that might be helpful. In fact, I used it as I was learning my position. They have a ton of videos on different subjects, and they're pretty short videos, so they're really easy just to take a break and look through them. But I found them very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. So what, for those of you still on the line, so for what Melinda is referring to is on the SBIR website. When you go on the homepage, you can look at different tutorials. So if there's a specific topic organization that you would like to look at, like the USDA, for example, you can go in and learn about all the SBIR program basics, also agency introductions. And this was very helpful when I began learning about USDA and the different components of what USDA SBIR grants offer. So that one is actually down at the bottom. And like Melinda was saying, you can do, there's the agency introduction. It walks you through, I'll go back one page because I was too click happy. Introduction, proposal and preparation. So it goes through weeks 1 and 2. It helps break down what you need to get done in those weeks. Weeks 3 and 4, and then weeks 5 and 6. Once again, we can't strongly emphasize enough, if you have to get your DUNS number or your SAM stuff, it's good to get it done beforehand, because there's no guarantee that your SAM account is even going to be active during that 60-day time if they're backed up with approvals or something goes wrong with your cage code validation or anything like that. So if you're interested, please, please, please do that part now. It'll save you a lot of time, stress, and hard work later. The video piece that she was discussing, so you can read and learn about any of the SBIR programs in whatever format is best for you. So if you are an audio person, There's audio, video. If you're multimedia where you need a little bit of both, they have a little bit of both. If it's easier for you to learn just by reading through a PDF, there is that on there too. There's a glossary with key terms and conditions. There's specific institute videos, links. And if you really want to know whether you learned something or not, you could take a quiz. It's a 5 quiz and know whether you absorbed the information you were trying to retain. But this is all very helpful information. On this very first tutorial, actually, at the end, it does give you the name of the program specialist for the USDA SBIR program. So if you have any questions, you could always reach out to Kelly as well, or Melinda and Leslie.
And I'll just say, Kelly, who has just accepted a promotion. So while we're very happy for her promotion, we're very sorry to lose her. She's excellent. So right now, just contact me.
Okay, that's good to know, especially especially if Kelly's in transition.
Yes.
Oh, without further ado, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and a special thank you to Melinda for teaching us more about USBIR. I learn more every time I watch one of these or post one of these. So thank you. For the participants on the line, this session has been recorded. If you would like a copy of the recording, please let me know. I will be sending out a copy of the slide deck after I combined my slide deck with Melinda's slide deck and we have approval. Feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, concerns, or if you want to meet afterwards, I'm happy to do that. So thank you, Melinda. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And I hope all of you have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.